Have you ever wondered what your own family would do if you suddenly became helpless? Would they stand by you or bounce the moment things got hard? Because that's exactly what happened to me. My name is Harper Lane. I'm 27 years old and I work as a trauma nurse in Phoenix, Arizona, or at least I used to, before everything fell apart. I woke up in a hospital room that smelled like bleach and heartbreak. Machines beeped slow and steady, like they were counting down the seconds of my life. My throat burned like sandpaper, my head felt like it was stuffed with concrete, and the light above me stabbed straight through my skull. But none of that compared to the real punch in the gut. The room was empty. No flowers, no cards, no familiar faces. Just a single white envelope sitting on the rolling table beside my bed, like someone couldn't be bothered to hand it to me. The handwriting was unmistakable, neat, slanted, the same handwriting that wrote my school permission slips, grocery lists, birthday cards. My mom's. I tore it open with shaking fingers. 8 words. 8 stupid little words that burned hotter than any pain medication dripping into my veins. We can't do this anymore. Take care. The Lanes. Not mom, not dad, not even my stepbrother Evan, just the Lanes. Like I was some stranger they were politely dismissing me from a dentist appointment. It felt like the monitor should have started screaming, because my heart sure did. I wasn't some reckless kid who'd ruined her life. I wasn't an addict. I wasn't irresponsible. I was a nurse. I was the one who took care of everyone else. And yet the moment I needed someone, they dipped. Now, before I go deeper, hold on. Seriously, pause. I want to know, what are you doing right now while hearing my voice? Are you driving, cleaning your room, doom scrolling at midnight? Drop it in the comments. I love seeing your answers, and I read all of them. Anyway, I stared at that note until my vision blurred. Then the door opened. 2 strangers stepped inside, both wearing dark suits, both looking like they walked straight out of a courtroom drama. The older one spoke first. Calm, controlled, like he already knew everything I was about to say. "Miss Lane," he said, "I'm Thomas Gray, a state attorney for the Lane Family Trust, and this is Elijah Brooks, financial advisor. The hospital alerted us when your parents ended medical responsibility." He placed a thick folder at the foot of my bed. My heart thudded hard against my bandaged ribs. What does that mean?" I croaked. Thomas opened the folder and slid a document toward me. One that shouldn't have existed, not in a million years. A trust agreement, signed 15 years ago, by someone I hadn't spoken about in over a decade. Someone I didn't even know remembered me. My biological grandmother, Margaret Hale. Thomas leaned in, voice lowering. "She left everything to you, but the assets were locked behind one specific clause. It activates the moment your legal guardians, your mother and stepfather, abandon responsibility for your care during incapacity." He tapped the paper. And they did. Just 2 days ago. My blood ran ice cold. Elijah unfolded another sheet, fresh hospital letterhead. The signature at the bottom was unmistakable. My mother's. Terminating guardianship, ending payment, walking away. I swallowed hard, my throat trembling. "And now?" I whispered. Thomas slid the rest of the documents closer. "You inherit what they never wanted you to know existed. And, Miss Lane, it's life-changing." My breath hitched. What kind of inheritance? Elijah exchanged a glance with Thomas, the kind of glance that said, everything is about to flip upside down. He exhaled. "Enough," he said slowly, "that they might come crawling back." My stomach dropped. And just when I thought things couldn't get any darker, Thomas added, "Harper, we need to get you out of this hospital tonight because someone is already trying to stop you from claiming what's yours." Thomas's words hung in the air like smoke. "Someone is trying to stop me?" I whispered, gripping the blanket like it might float me out of this nightmare. "Why? I mean, why me? Why now?" Elijah stepped forward, his expression tight, like he was choosing every word carefully. "Because what your grandmother left you, Harper, isn't just money. It's control. And some people in your family don't want you having that power." My heart hammered. This had to be a mistake. My grandmother hadn't spoken to the Lane family in years. She moved out to Sedona when I was 10, right after a huge blow-up with my mom. I didn't think she cared about me anymore. But apparently, I was wrong. "You said we need to leave." My voice cracked. "Like tonight?" Thomas nodded. "The longer you stay, the easier it becomes for certain people to manipulate your care, delay documents, maybe even challenge your capacity." I blinked. Challenge my capacity? I literally just woke up from a coma, dude. "Exactly," Elijah said softly. "You're vulnerable, and that's exactly when they strike." My stomach knotted. I tried pushing myself upright, wincing as pain tore through my ribs. Thomas immediately reached out to help adjust the bed. "Easy," he murmured. "We've arranged a private transport team. They're trusted and discreet." "Where are we going?" I asked. "The Hale Foundation headquarters in Scottsdale." I almost choked. "The Hale Foundation? As in, as in the nonprofit your grandmother built before your parents cut ties," Thomas finished. "She left it in your name, locked until you turned 27, and demonstrated abandonment by legal guardians." Her words, not ours. I shook my head. "This feels unreal." "It's real, and we don't have much time." Before I could respond, the door creaked open again. A nurse stepped in, but the moment she saw Thomas and Elijah, her eyes went wide, like she wasn't expecting them here. Harper Lane?" she asked, voice a little too high-pitched. I was told to bring a release form." Thomas stiffened. Elijah subtly shifted in front of me. "A release form from who?" Thomas asked sharply. The nurse swallowed. "Management? Which manager?" Her face went pale. She didn't answer. Yeah, no. Something was off. Elijah stepped forward, voice icy. "We're leaving. Now." The nurse's eyes darted to the hall like she was waiting for someone. I felt a chill race up my spine. Elijah pushed the call button, and within seconds, another nurse entered. This one wore a different badge, a higher-level role. "What's happening here?" she asked. Thomas handed her paperwork. "We already verified legal transfer. We need discharge immediately." She skimmed the documents, nodded quickly, and glared at the first nurse. "You weren't supposed to be assigned to this room." The first nurse bolted without another word. I glanced between Thomas and Elijah. "Okay, what the hell was that?" Thomas's jaw clenched. "Someone inside this hospital is being paid to monitor your status. That's how fast your family moved." My blood drained from my face. "These people are my parents," I whispered. Elijah met my eyes, steady and unflinching. "Harper, the second they realized what they had accidentally triggered, they went from indifferent to desperate." Desperate. The word echoed through my skull. 20 minutes later, I was being wheeled through a staff-only corridor, wearing fresh clothes Elijah brought, a soft hoodie, leggings, and slip-on sneakers. My body still felt weak and hollow, like a stiff breeze might knock me over. But my mind? My mind was sharper than it had been in months. The private exit opened into a dim parking garage, a black SUV idled by the ramp, windows tinted darker than midnight. The driver nodded once and opened the back door for me. That's when my phone buzzed. I froze. No one should have had my number. I hadn't used it since the accident. The text came from an unknown number.
Where you think you're going? My chest tightened. Another message followed. A picture. A picture of me. Right now. In the garage. Taken from somewhere above. I jerked my head upward. Nothing. Just empty concrete and fluorescent lights humming overhead. My hand shook as I showed the phone to Thomas. He went pale. Elijah swore under his breath. That's not possible, Elijah muttered, unless someone followed us. Thomas stepped protectively in front of me. Get in the car, he said quietly. Right now. Another buzz. You're not leaving, Harper. Not until we talk. My blood ran cold. And that's when I realized someone in my own family wasn't just watching. They were hunting.
The SUV's door slammed shut behind me, muffling the echo of the garage. Thomas slid into the seat beside me while Elijah took the front passenger seat. The driver, silent, focused, pulled out of the parking space like we were escaping a crime scene. I couldn't stop staring at my phone. That picture, taken from above, taken seconds ago. Someone was watching me in real time. I don't understand, I whispered. Why would anyone in my family do this? They don't even like me. Thomas shot me a grave look. Harper, people don't need to like you to fear you. That sentence landed like a brick. Elijah twisted in his seat. The inheritance isn't your run-of-the-mill trust fund. Your grandmother wasn't a normal wealthy donor. She built something the Lane family desperately wanted: control of the foundation, access to investments, and influence over government contracts. And now it's mine? I whispered. It was always yours, Thomas said. I looked back down at the text messages. Unknown number. You're not leaving, Harper. Not until we talk. My stomach twisted. My palms were slick with sweat. Can you trace it? I asked. Elijah's brows furrowed. Already on it. He tapped at his tablet. He looked like he was typing code from a spy movie. A tense silence filled the SUV as the driver merged onto the freeway. Then Elijah cursed under his breath. Damn it! They're masking their location. Whoever this is, they're good. Like professional level good. Professional? I echoed. Why would anyone hire a pro to track me? Thomas exchanged a silent look with Elijah. I hated that look. That's what we're trying to figure out, Thomas said carefully. But what we do know, your family didn't want to pay your medical bills, but they sure as hell do not want you gaining control of that foundation. I swallowed hard. So what? They think scaring me will make me give it up? Thomas's expression darkened. Harper, you survived a coma-level accident, and the police report has irregularities. A chill slid down my spine. What kind of irregularities? I asked. Thomas hesitated. We shouldn't talk specifics until you're in a secure location. That was not comforting. Not even a little. The SUV turned off the freeway, weaving through quieter streets lit only by flickering street lamps. My heartbeat thudded in my ears. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Look left. My breath hitched. I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. But slowly, I turned my head toward the driver's side window. A black sedan had pulled up beside us. Windows tinted, matching speed perfectly. My pulse skyrocketed. Guys? I choked. We've got company. Elijah twisted fast. Driver, now. The SUV accelerated. So did the sedan. What the hell is happening? I snapped, gripping the seatbelt like a lifeline. Hold on, Thomas said, bracing himself. The SUV swerved sharply, taking a sudden right turn. My shoulder slammed into the door. The sedan followed. Why are they chasing us? I snapped again. I thought we were just going to the foundation office. We are, Thomas said, voice tense. But someone doesn't want you getting there. The SUV turned again, left, right, down a narrow side street,
The sedan stayed glued to us. Elijah's tablet dinged. He froze. "What?" I demanded. He turned slowly to face me. The signal, the phone number, it's tied to someone I did not expect. My heart lurched into my throat. "Who?" He hesitated just long enough to make the fear crawl up my spine. "It's tied to an old number belonging to your stepbrother, Evan." My world tilted. Evan? No, he's annoying but not homicidal. Thomas shook his head. "Phone numbers can be spoofed. We don't know if it's him, but someone wants you to think it's him or someone wants to hide behind his identity." Before I could respond, headlights swung across the windshield, another car blocking the end of the street. The driver swore loudly. We were boxed in, front and back. 2 black vehicles, tinted windows, engines rumbling like predators closing in. Thomas grabbed my wrist. "Harper, listen to me." But before he could finish, my phone buzzed again. Another message. "Time's up." My breath hitched in my chest, and the back door of the blocking car swung open. Someone stepped out. Someone I never expected to see again.
The SUV's brakes screeched as we skidded to a halt. My breath caught somewhere between my chest and my throat. The black sedan behind us stopped too, boxing us in like we were prey in a trap laid hours ago. The door of the car ahead cracked open. A boot hit the pavement. Not rushing, not frantic, slow, controlled, almost rehearsed. Then, he stepped out. My stepbrother, Evan Lane. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a navy jacket like he just walked out of a business meeting instead of whatever the hell this was. But it wasn't his appearance that made my stomach drop. It was the expression. Cold, tight, calculated. Nothing like the goofy, semi-useless brother who used to steal the last Pop-Tart from the pantry and laugh when I yelled at him. "Stay in the car," Thomas murmured, placing a protective hand on my arm. Evan walked forward slowly, hands visible, like he wanted us to know he wasn't armed, even though that somehow made him look more dangerous. Elijah's jaw clenched as he lowered the window a few inches. "Evan," he called out, voice steady. "What are you doing?" Evan stopped in front of us, his face illuminated by the SUV's headlights. He tilted his head. "Funny. That's what I was going to ask you." My heartbeat rattled in my ears. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from shaking. He smiled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't familiar. It wasn't human. "Harper," he said with a quiet laugh, "you woke up at the worst possible time." My chest tightened. What does that even mean? He ignored the question and stepped closer, palms raised. "You should have stayed unconscious," he said softly. "Your condition was delicate, and Mom thought you'd be unconscious a few more weeks, long enough for us to move things around." "Move what around?" Thomas demanded. Evan shifted his jaw. "The foundation papers, the beneficiary designations, the control rights. Mom didn't know terminating responsibility would trigger the clause immediately. She thought it would only cost cuts, not activate anything." "You're telling us she didn't read the document she signed?" Elijah asked flatly. Evan shrugged. "She trusted the wrong people." I blinked. "Are you seriously blaming someone else for her abandoning me in a hospital bed?" Evan looked suddenly frustrated, like this conversation was going off the rails for him. "This isn't personal, Harper. It's business, and if you just sign temporary control back to us for a week, just 1 week, everything will be fine." Thomas scoffed. "You think we're idiots?" Evan's mask slipped. His jaw tightened. "Harper, if you go with them," he gestured towards Thomas and Elijah, "you're choosing war. And trust me, you don't know how ugly that gets." My heart hammered. "I'm not handing over anything," I said quietly. Evan's expression hardened into something chilling. "Then I can't let you leave." Before Thomas or Elijah could react, Evan snapped his fingers. The back doors of both black cars flew open. 3 men stepped out. Black clothes, gloves, blank faces. Not family, not negotiators, not here to talk. My throat closed.
Evan stepped backwards, letting the men move forward. "Last chance, Harper," he said softly. I reached for the door handle, ready to run, fight, scream, something. But then a voice crackled over the SUV's radio, a voice I recognized instantly. Firm, sharp, unshakable. "Harper, get down. Now." My blood froze. It was my grandmother's attorney, the one we hadn't even met yet, and he sounded like he was watching everything from somewhere very, very close.
Get down now. The voice crackling through the SUV's radio sliced through the chaos like a blade. I didn't think. My body moved before my mind caught up. I dropped flat across the back seat as Thomas shoved Elijah down at the same time. Then, pop. A sharp, metallic snap cracked somewhere outside. Not a gunshot, too controlled, but definitely not harmless. The three men advancing toward us froze mid-step. "What the—" Evan's voice echoed across the street. Another pop. This time paired with a hiss. The sedan behind us dipped slightly, like its suspension had been hit. Thomas lifted his head just enough to peek out the window. "Spike launcher," he muttered. "Non-lethal. Someone's neutralizing their vehicles." "Someone who?" I gasped. He didn't answer, because the radio crackled again. "Harper, stay down until I say otherwise. Your extraction team has been dispatched." Extraction team? Like I was some kidnapped diplomat, not a half-broken nurse from Phoenix. Evan's voice boomed outside. "Show yourself! You think you can mess with us?" One of the men in black reached toward his jacket. Another pop. He yelped and dropped something, a small electronic device, before clutching his hand. Non-lethal. Precision. Whoever was out there knew exactly what they were doing. "Driver," Elijah hissed. "Go, go. If the road's clear—" "It's not," the driver snapped. "They blocked both ends." I lifted my head a little. One look outside and my blood iced. Evan wasn't smirking anymore. He was pacing, frantic, scanning rooftops, alleys, shadows, anywhere someone could be hiding. "Come on!" he shouted angrily. "You want to play games? Let's play!" My phone buzzed on my lap. I grabbed it with shaking fingers. Unknown number. "Don't trust Thomas. Don't trust Elijah. They're using you." I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs. "What is it?" Thomas demanded, seeing my face drain of color. I didn't want to show him. I didn't want to show anyone. But my hands moved anyway, like I needed someone else to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. I held up the phone. Elijah's eyes widened. No, that's bait. They're trying to break us apart." But Thomas didn't deny it immediately. Instead, a subtle flicker crossed his expression, almost like he'd expected something like this to happen. My stomach twisted. "What does that mean? Thomas, why aren't you saying anything?" He exhaled slowly, too slowly. "Harper, people in situations like yours have to be careful who they trust." Great, but that didn't answer my question. Before he could answer, a deafening blast echoed from behind us. Not a gunshot, not a pop. A car door slammed so violently the metal rang. Evan. He stormed toward the SUV, rage twisting his features. "Open the door, Harper! We're ending this, now!" Elijah cursed and reached over to lock the doors again, even though they were already locked. The men in black regrouped behind Evan, rubbing their hands or flexing sore fingers from whatever non-lethal hits they took. They looked pissed and ready. "Driver," Thomas ordered tightly, "on my mark, push through the left side." "We're boxed in," the driver said again. Thomas didn't blink. "Do it anyway." Evan slammed his palm against the window right beside me, making me jump so hard my vision blurred. "Harper," he shouted, "if you leave with them, Mom loses everything, Dad loses everything, and I—" His voice cracked. Just for a second.
just enough to show the fear underneath the fury. I get nothing. For a moment, a tiny, stupid part of me felt that old flicker of sympathy. He was still the boy who used to bring me popsicles when I had strep throat, even though he ate half of them first. But sympathy didn't mean safety. "Get away," I whispered. But he didn't. He pulled something out of his pocket. A phone. He held it to the window so I could see the screen. A photo. A photo of my grandmother. Except this wasn't a kind, smiling portrait. It was a surveillance photo. Taken recently. She looked worried. Like she knew something was coming. "She's not who you think she is," Evan said softly, his forehead pressing against the glass. "And if you go with these people, you're walking into her trap." My throat clenched. "What trap?" He didn't answer, because at that exact moment,
A black van screeched around the corner, tires smoking, headlights blinding. It barreled straight toward us. Evan and his men spun around, shouting. Thomas's eyes widened. Elijah swore violently. The driver revved the engine. I gripped the seat, and the van's side door slid open mid-skid, revealing a figure inside. Someone wearing the Hale Foundation security badge. Someone who knew my name. Someone who said one word that made my pulse stop cold. "Harper, run!" The world blurred into motion the second that van screeched to a halt. The side doors slid open mid-skid, revealing a woman in tactical gear. Dark vest, Hale Foundation badge clipped to her chest, headset pressed tight to one ear. Short black hair, sharp eyes, a "don't screw with me" energy that hit like a shockwave. "Harper, move," she yelled again. Elijah yanked the child lock off. Thomas shoved open the door on my side so fast I barely had time to breathe. Everything outside exploded at once. Evan spun toward the van. The men in black reached for their belts. The driver of our SUV slammed his foot on the gas even though we were boxed in. And me? My body chose adrenaline over fear. I launched myself out of the vehicle. The cold night air slapped my face. My legs wobbled, still weak from the coma, but Thomas was right behind me, gripping my elbow to steady me as we sprinted toward the van. "Cut them off," Evan yelled behind us. "Do not let her leave." Heavy footsteps pounded against the pavement, shouts, racing engines, the raw animal urge to survive. The Hale agent waved us closer, bracing herself against the van door. "Hurry," she barked. I stumbled inside first. Elijah practically dove in next. Thomas followed, slamming his shoulder into one of Evan's men who got too close to the door. "Go," Thomas shouted as he climbed in. "Drive!" The driver of the van heard him loud and clear. The door slammed shut, and then, bam! We shot backward with such force my teeth rattled. The van spun, tires screeching against asphalt as the driver floored it. We hit a trash bin, bounced, then straightened out down a narrow alley at full speed. "Holy," Elijah gasped, gripping the metal railing inside the van. I grabbed the seat beside me, knuckles white. Thomas panted beside me. "Is everyone okay?" Before I could answer, something slammed into the back of the van, hard enough to jolt us forward. Evan's sedan. "They're ramming us," I shouted. "No kidding," Elijah snapped. The Hale agent spoke into her headset. "Unit Bravo, we are under pursuit. 3 vehicles. Lanes are compromised. Repeat, compromised." Her voice was ice cold. Professional. Zero panic. "Who are you?" I breathed. She looked at me, and for the first time, her expression softened. "My name is Ari Mendoza, Director of Field Security for the Hale Foundation." Her jaw tightened. "Your grandmother sent me." My stomach dropped. "She's alive?" I whispered. "Very, and very aware of what's happening." The van swerved sharply, nearly tossing me off the bench. "But Evan showed me a picture. He said she was in trouble. He said—" Ari cut me off. "Whatever Evan told you, forget it. Your grandmother is not the enemy." "Then who is?" I demanded. Ari hesitated.
Just a second, but enough to make my skin crawl. That's complicated, she said, and your family only knows half of the truth. You inherited more than money, Harper. Much more. I swallowed hard. Another slam hit the van, a side impact this time. Jesus, Elijah yelled. They're not giving up. Ari turned to the front. Driver, lose them. I'm trying, he shouted back. The van lurched into another street. We clipped a mailbox, a car alarm blared, something metal scraped against the side panel. My heart thudded so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs open. Why are they chasing me? I whispered. What could possibly be that important? Ari met my gaze. Because you're not just the beneficiary of the foundation, she said quietly. Your grandmother structured something. Something only you can unlock. Unlock? Unlock what? I asked, panic rising. Ari studied me for a long moment, like she was deciding how much truth I could handle while being thrown around in a van. Finally, she answered. Control of the Hale Initiative. The words meant nothing to me. But they meant everything to Thomas and Elijah. Both of them whipped their heads toward Ari at the exact same time. You never mentioned that she... Elijah stammered. Ari nodded grimly. Because we didn't want her targeted before she woke up. Too late for that. What's the Hale Initiative? I pressed. Ari didn't blink. A program with the power to destroy the people coming after you. My breath hitched. Or, she added, voice dropping to a whisper, reshape every hospital system in the Southwest overnight. I stared at her stunned. I don't understand. Ari leaned forward. You will. But first, her headset crackled violently. Ari, behind you! We whipped around at the same time. The back window of the van had spiderweb cracks splintering across the glass. And through them, 2 laser dots aligned on Ari's vest. My stomach dropped. Someone behind us wasn't using non-lethal weapons anymore. They were escalating. Fast.
The twin red laser dots hovered over Ari's vest like tiny burning eyes. Down, she shouted. We dove in different directions just as the back window exploded inward. Glass burst across the metal floor like glittering shards of ice. The driver swerved so hard my shoulders smacked into the wall. Pain shot up my arm, but the adrenaline drowned most of it out. Who's firing? Thomas yelled. Ari crawled toward the shattered window, her voice clipped and focused. Sniper, rear vehicle. They upgraded from intimidation to elimination. Elimination? I choked. As in, me? But the look on her face told me everything. Yes, me. The van took another hit. Metal shrieked as a bullet skimmed the side panel. We can't outrun them, the driver yelled. We need a diversion. Ari tapped her headset. Control, initiate Phoenix drop. I froze. What the hell is a Phoenix drop? I demanded. Ari's lips tightened. Plan B. That was not comforting. Suddenly, the van veered into a closed-off construction ramp, barreled up a short incline, then stopped abruptly. So abruptly, I had to grab the metal bench to keep from flying forward. Everybody out, Ari snapped. Move! We spilled out of the van, stumbling across loose gravel and half-built concrete scaffolding. The night air hit me like ice. Behind us, tires screeched. Avon's cars were closing in. A giant concrete drainage pipe lay on its side nearby. Ari grabbed my wrist and pulled hard. In here! We ducked inside just as headlights flooded the site. Avon's voice echoed across the construction zone, furious, unhinged. Harper, you think you can run from us? That trust wasn't meant for you. My lungs squeezed tight, my entire body shook. Ari crouched beside me, breathing hard but steady. Listen to me, Harper. The Hale Initiative, you're the only biological heir. That means you're the only one who can authorize activation. I still don't know what that means, I whispered. It means, she said, Your grandmother built a system that exposes corruption in hospital networks, financial fraud, billing manipulation, illegal kickbacks. The Lane family, your stepfather included, benefited from all of it. The words hit me like a punch. My dad? I whispered, voice cracking. He's involved? Ari nodded slowly. He wasn't supposed to be. But the moment your grandmother fell ill, they moved in. They wanted control. And if you activate the initiative, it will expose everything they've been hiding for a decade. My head spun. All this time, my own family sabotaged me because I was the only threat to their empire. Footsteps pounded outside the pipe, getting closer. Avon. He stopped right at the opening. "Harper," he said softly, voice breaking. "Please come out. Let's fix this. You're my sister." "Keep your voice down," Ari whispered in my ear. "They want to lure you out." Avon crouched, his silhouette framed by headlights. "You know what, Grandma?" he said. "She wasn't some sweet old lady. She was ruthless. She tore our family apart. She protected me." He flinched. "She protected her money." Ari stiffened. "He's lying." Avon's face twitched, barely, but enough to see the cracks forming. "You know what?" he said after a long beat. "Fine." His tone sharpened into something cold enough to slice bone. "If you won't come to me," he lifted his hand. The men behind him stepped forward. "We'll drag you out." Ari grabbed my hand. "Run!" We sprinted out the opposite side of the pipe just as Avon's men rushed in. The construction site turned into a maze of shadows and half-finished structures. Adrenaline pumped through my veins like fire. We cut between rebar stacks, dodged around concrete barriers, climbed over a metal beam. Shouts erupted behind us. Then, quiet. Too quiet. Ari slowed. "They're regrouping." "Meaning what?" I gasped. She looked at me with hard, determined eyes. "Meaning we're out of time." Before I could breathe, a spotlight hit us, blinding white. A helicopter. Rotor blades whipped the air into a frenzy as a rope ladder dropped down. A Hale Foundation insignia glowed on the side. "Go!" Ari shouted. "Climb!" I grabbed the ladder, hands shaking, and pulled myself up rung by rung. My arms burned, my legs trembled, but I wasn't stopping. Ari climbed behind me, shouting orders into her headset. Below us, Avon burst into view, rage twisting his features. "Harper! This isn't over!" But his voice drowned under the roar of the helicopter as it lifted higher and higher until he became a tiny speck in the chaos. When we were finally safe inside the aircraft, Ari shut the hatch and leaned against it, breathing hard. "You're safe for now," she said softly. "For now?" I echoed. She met my eyes. "Harper, your grandmother wants to meet you. Tonight, before the Lane family makes their next move." I swallowed hard, heart pounding like a drum. "My grandmother? She's alive, and she knows what's happening?" Ari nodded. "She's been preparing for this moment for years." The helicopter banked toward a cluster of lights in the darkness, somewhere in the desert. Ari's voice was low, steady, unshakable. "And Harper? She believes you're the one who finishes what she started."
If you enjoyed this story and want more just like it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Silent Revenge Lab. Your support keeps these stories alive, and trust me, the next one will hit even harder.